Börje's, form of greatness is truly unique. I've never met anybody like him. There's never been a Toronto Maple Leaf like him. There never will be. It shook me because, of all the people I've met in my life, I don't think I've ever met anybody who is more full of life than Börje Salming. I work for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and half of my job is the Director of Alumni Relations for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The other half is Director of Event Presentation. I met Börje Salming in 1996. It was my second year working for the organization. He had just been inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, and I met him and his whole family that weekend. And we've worked on dozens of events over the years and become really good friends. We just love having Börje a part of all of our events in Toronto. We can never get him there often enough, and it's just been wonderful, sharing his story with the fans and watching him interact with the fans. He's truly unique in his way that he engages with people. Well, in my job as Director of Alumni Relations, I work with hundreds of the guys over the years, and I'd like to think that I've developed some pretty good friendships, but there haven't been very many that are as strong as the one I have with Börje. He means the world to me, and he's always treated me like absolute gold. Yeah, it was tough. It was sort of an emotional reunion, but it turned into a really nice visit. I spent about 2.5 hours with him. I told some stories. He laughed a few times, smiled a few times, and he pulled out some books and some photos, and we looked through them together, and it was just nice to be together and see him. It was very tough to see him that way, but I'm glad that I got the chance to sort of chat with him. Well, we were approached with the idea of the game. We love the idea. I figured we needed to secure, as many people as possible before we made the announcement. So I talked with Daryl Sittler, who was Börje's captain, and he's agreed to come and coach the Leafs alumni team. I talked to the Toronto Maple Leafs Alumni Association Board of Directors. They love the idea, and they're going to support it as well. I talked to our president, Brendan Shanahan, who's lent his full support, his and the hockey clubs to this. And then I reached out to Matt Sundin, and I said we need a captain. And it took him like 2 seconds to decide. He says, I'm in. He says, no brainer. I'm writing it down right now. So once we had the key people involved, we were ready to commit, and now it's just about shaping the roster and bringing over some great Maple Leafs players to, for such a special event. And it'll be fun to get some of our players that don't normally get a chance to represent the Leafs alumni in games. That all of our games we play are back in Canada. This will be our first international alumni game. So for that reason, and for Börje, it will be very special. During our centennial season, we decided to refresh our player banners, and the question then was, what do we do with the original banners? And an associate of mine suggested, why don't we take them to all the hometowns of those players? And so most of them are scattered across Canada, but my favorite banner delivery of all 19 that we did was bringing Börje's banner back to Corunna. I've never been that far north in my life before or since. It was an epic journey, Toronto to Frankfurt, Frankfurt to Stockholm, spent a day here, then flew to Corunna, checked into a hotel there, and that was we got there late that night. Then the next morning we headed out into the community, sort of got a tour, went down to the mines, headed to the arena, ran into to Börje at that point about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And he said to me, he goes, Mike, he goes, I want you out there on the ice with me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I have run a lot of banner ceremonies and events over the years, but no player had ever asked me to be a part of one with them. So that was quite an honor. So I stood next to Börje Salming when we unveiled his banner in the arena in Kiruna. The place was full, it was loud, the community invested a ton of money into making it special. We had a great banquet afterwards, lasted till about 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we flew it the next day. It was still dark, but with all the memories and good times still fresh in our minds. And I can't think of a more, epic first visit to Sweden than traveling 7 degrees north of the Arctic Circle with Börje Salming. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Good.
Cool. That's a cool memory.
Oh my gosh, it was like, it was like, how you have like amazing experiences and meaningful experiences, wonderful, happy, all sorts of, that was like, what I would classify that as, it was like one of, if not the coolest experience I've had working for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Börje is the coolest person I've ever met in my entire life. And that was really the perfect showcase for all of that. It's still vivid in my memories, and I'll never forget it. Like, it was just epic.